can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
All right, this is Tapped, and you are tapped in the art of political discourse. Let's get right to it. Chuck Schumer, the Schumer of Israel, all right, the self-described guardian of the Israeli state. I have a clip on him. You guys want to see this clip. This will speak volumes of who Chuck Schumer is and what he truly supports under the guise of being an American citizen and about America first rather than anywhere or anyone else. This clip is explosive. Some of you may not want to see it, but I advise you to watch this. You want to see this clip. It is a clip from 2018. However, this clip from 2018 speaks volumes. Again, it speaks loud and clear in terms of who Chuck Schumer is and what he truly represents. All right. That being said, let's get to this clip. Before we do, please like, share, follow, and subscribe to TAP, the Art of Political Discourse. We appreciate your participation and viewership. Also, we like to ask that you help get this channel up to 5,000 subscribers by the end of this month. Your efforts in that endeavor will be greatly appreciated as well. That being said, let's get to this clip. You don't want to miss this clip. You want to listen to this clip. Pay close attention. This is Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York. And you could bet $1 to a donut that these, what he's saying is what he today still believes and supports. All right. Here you go.
Let me tell you why, my view, why we don't have peace. Because the fact of the matter is that too many Palestinians and too many Arabs do not want any Jewish state in the Middle East. The view of Palestinians is simple. Well, the Europeans treated the Jews badly, culminating in the Holocaust, and they gave them our land as compensation. Of course, we say it's our land. The Torah says it, but they don't believe in the Torah. So that's the reason there is not peace. They invent other reasons, but they do not believe in a Jewish state. And that is why we in America must stand strong with Israel through thick and thin.
Now, I have to jump in here immediately. I was going to let this thing run through. It's about a good 4 minutes or so, but already there is propaganda being spewed and false narratives. See, what Chuck failed to say to not just the audience at this AIPAC gathering, mostly, Jewish people there, he failed to relate that Israel got there in Palestine in 1917. And that was by way of a declaration by a UK representative or a politician by the name of Balfour. It was the Balfour letter to one of the Rothschilds. At this time, Britain was facing issues, riots, and incitements from Jewish people in the UK, and that had become a problem for the British authorities. So they didn't want no more of this, and Balfour had an idea. All right, this was in 1917. There's a lot that hasn't been said that Chuck won't say himself, and I'll comment it on it as we go. But they ended up in Palestine in 1917, a land that was already populated by inhabitants for thousands of years. All right, and they came in and took the land. Acts of terrorism that no Jewish person would speak of openly, especially to the American public. They won't tell that history, but it exists. It is documented.
We must because that is the reason, not any of these other false shibboleths, why there is not peace in the Middle East. Too many.
One of the reasons why also there's not peace in the Middle East, because Israel has decided that they would rather have issues in the Middle East to destabilize the Middle East. And if that occurs, while that occurs, Israel, they create these conflicts amongst the Arabs. It's documented. It's documented. Most of what takes place in the Middle East is because there was this plot, this scheme, by Mossad, the Israeli government, to create, again, destabilization in the region. And if the occupants in the region are fighting each other, then Israel does not, or in the time being, have to worry about the focus being on them. They could take that time and build militarily, economically, things of that nature, and that's what occurred. All right. Just recently in Iran, they sent in agents and helped foment an uprising. But let them tell it. The narrative, or the narrative is that, the people rose up. They forgot to leave out the fact that the United States and Israel sent in guns, had agents in there inciting revolution. This is what they do to destabilize the country of Iran. They've done that in Syria. They've done that in Iraq. This is what they do.
Many people don't understand that here in America. Now, I want to, the rest of
my... In other words, people in America are not buying the lies. That's, Americans, not all Americans will buy the lie that the Israeli state, the occupiers, the colonizers in Israel, in the Middle East, is trying to tell the American public.
Speech I want to address to you. One of the great problems that Israel faces in the future, not immediately, but in the future, but we have to worry about it. I'll be having lunch with the Prime Minister tomorrow, and I intend to talk to him about this and what we can do about it. The fact of the matter is that too many of our younger generations don't share the devotion to Israel that our generations have. That's a problem. We have to face it and deal with it. Now, it's certainly not true in AIPAC. We have thousands of students here who go home.
What does that devotion represent that he just spoke of? For a lot of us who know better, it represents the continual terrorism in the Middle East that Israel enacts on the people in that region. Terrorist activities. That is the devotion, to destabilize those other countries in that area so that Israel can take power. Have them fight each other. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. They're devoted to that. Divide them, and then you can conquer them and their land. The Greater Israel plan is not something of, it's not for play. It's been in full effect. Again, this speech was given in 2018. So continue.
Home and spread the word of Israel. Students, stand up. We want to applaud you. $3,500 students here at AIPAC. God bless you. But we all know the problem. Americans, too many of the younger Americans, don't know the history. And as a result, they tend to say, well, both sides are to blame. Many Americans, younger Americans, didn't grow up knowing Israel was attacked time after time. Okay,
I have to stop him there. So again, they were dropped off in Palestine in 1917. They came in massacring the Palestinians. It's all documented. But pre-state and around 1948, the war Nakba, all right, during the creation of the state of Israel, dozens of massacres were documented as part of a campaign to depopulate Palestinian villages. Why would you do that? So that that area would be open for them to come and settle in. All right. It's documented, dozens of massacres. Okay. Then there was the Dire Yassin, April 9th, 1948. Zionist paramilitary groups, Urgum and Lehi, supported by the Haganah, killed at least 170 villagers, including women and children. This event is cited as a primary driver of the Palestinian exodus. So as a result of that, Palestinians packed up and they say, hey, we don't want to die. You know, yeah, this is our ancestral land, but these people are murdering. They're murderous people. They're killing us. How do we survive? Let's leave and figure out something. So that created an exodus. It opened up space for more European or so-called European Jewish people to come over into a land that was not their own, to occupy this land, colonize it. All right. All right. Then there was Al-Dawayima, October 29, 1948. Regular Israeli forces killed between 80 and 455 people in one of the deadliest massacres of the war, occurring in houses, a mosque, and a cave. There was Tantura, May 15, 1948. Nearly 200 Palestinians were reportedly killed after the village surrendered. Researchers have recently identified mass graves beneath a modern-day beach resort. Okay? Lidda, July 1948. Over 400 residents were killed during an Israeli assault, followed by a forced expulsion order from David Ben-Gurion. Then post-statehood, 1949 to the 1990s. Quibia, October 14, 1953, Israeli Unit 101, commanded by Ariel Sharon, destroyed 45 houses, killing 69 civilians, 2/3 of whom were women and children. Kafar Quazim, October 29, 1956, border police killed 49 Palestinian citizens of Israel who were returning from work, unaware of a newly imposed curfew. This is colonialism. This is apartheid. Then you had Khan Yunis, October 3rd, 1956. During the Suez crisis, Israeli forces shot an estimated 275 to 400 Palestinians during house-to-house searches. Shot them in their homes. Then you had Sabra and Shatila, October 1982, while carried out by Lebanese Phalangist militias. An Israeli commission found Israel indirectly responsible for allowing the entry and providing flares for the 43-hour massacre of up to 3,500 refugees. You know, you have to keep up these numbers I'm calling out. We're talking about thousands of people, innocent people, defenseless women and children, all for the sake of occupying land, taking ownership of something that does not belong to someone else. Then we have the modern conflict and Gaza, 2000 to present. Recent decades have been high casualty counts during large-scale military operations by the Israelis. Jenin refugee camp, April 2002. At least 45 Palestinians were killed during a major Israeli incursion involving tanks and bulldozers. The Gaza conflicts from 2008 to 2024, repeated large-scale military operations have resulted in thousands of deaths. 2008 to 2009, 1,400 deaths. 2014, 2,200 deaths. 2018, at the time he was making his speech, to 2019, 223 deaths during border protests. 2023 to present, over 45,000 deaths as late as 2024, labeled by some international authorities as a textbook genocide. All right. This is what's been going on. And let Schumer tell it. There's no reason why the Palestinians should be fighting them or not wanting peace. Schumer paints the picture that these interlopers those who come from Europe into a land that is not their own came peacefully. It's documented that these people got there and began to immediately massacre the occupants of this land, Palestine. This is Palestine we're talking about. All right. This is SHUMER. This is SHUMER. The AIPAC is darling Israeli lobbyists, a lobby group. He loves them and they love him back. His relationship with them goes far and long. SHUMER has described his relationship with the AIPAC as having a deeply rooted love for Israel and a goal of preserving bipartisan support for the nation. And all these murderous activities, all this terrorism that Israel has enacted upon a land or a nation of people who done nothing to them, but want to stay on their ancestral land. They have been massacred for decades. And Israel and others in the West, the United States especially, have supported this genocide from way back when, have turned a blind eye. Why is that? Furthermore, why did they kick them out? Why did Britain feel a need to get rid of them or go and create a place for them that was not their own? Having had to know full well that these people were going to be massacred once these Europeans came up in there. This is nothing but a land that had been colonized by Europeans. And that is the story and history of Europeans. They are no different. What we see now, or what we've been seeing take place over the decades since back then, is nothing but apartheid. Terrorism on a people who, initially they welcomed them in. I guess that wasn't good enough. They needed the land for themselves. He has backed billions in arms sale. He has backed billions in arms sales and facilitated the invitation for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address Congress. This man is more Israeli than he is American. The nuance, while largely supportive, in March of 2024, SHUMER delivered a speech criticized by some supporters for calling on the Israeli government to hold new elections, stating that Palestinian civilians do not deserve to suffer. And while his supporters view this as upholding a vital alliance, critics argue this sustained support and fundraising from groups like the AIPAC, as highlighted by Open Secrets, prioritizes Israeli interests in U.S. foreign policy. It prioritizes Israeli interests in the United States government, in the halls of Congress, on the Hill. Israel reigns supreme. For anyone who has any doubt about Chuck Schumer's loyalty, his allegiance, this should convince you. This should convince you. Let me go on.
They think Israel has always been strong. They do not realize that if Israel were weak, her enemies would immediately seek her destruction. I remember being in high school, James Madison High School, Brooklyn, New York. In 1967, I carried a transistor radio to my ear. You young people will not know what that is. I wouldn't let it go from my ear because it was during the '67 war in June of '67. And I was deathly worried that Israel would just be pushed into the sea by the Arab onslaught. And we were praying to Hashem to please save Israel. Now, the younger generation never experienced.
They were praying to a God to save Israel. In what manner, in what way to save Israel, to allow Israel to continue to massacre defenseless women and children, to take something that didn't belong to them so that they can have something to say or to call theirs. based upon a religion, a book. There's something wrong with this. Not only that, but freedom of religion should be something anyone has a right to. Let Chuck Schumer tell it, they didn't have that because they did not read or respect the Torah. Something's wrong.
They haven't lived through a time when Israel's very existence was balanced on the edge of a knife. Fortunately, these days have passed, but Israel faces challenges that no other nation must face. While Putin enables Assad's atrocities in Syria, while a humanitarian crisis unfolds in Yemen, while human rights abuses happen every day to so many in Iran, somehow, to some, Israel receives the blame for a chaotic Middle East.
And Israel is the blame for the chaos in the Middle East. It's evident. It is very apparent, especially today. More has come out in terms of what Israel's involvement is in the destabilization of the region than before. We have learned so much more about Mossad and what it does to other countries to destabilize it. Israel murders, it assassinates, the country's leaders and its representatives. If that's not state terrorism, then what is? Israel wants to paint itself the victim in the world, while the truth of the matter is Israel victimizes people in the world. It's just that simple. It's just that simple.
The world celebrates the most incremental progress by Israel's neighbors and ignores the generous cooperation between Israel and her fellow nations, including her former enemies. The world draws a false moral equivalence between Israel's actions to defend herself and the actions of terrorists who use children as human shields.
So again, Israel, and this is the way they think today, especially Chuck Schumer. It paints itself as the victim. And it's sad to say, a lot of people actually believe that. You have more that don't, but there's enough that believes it. And through this belief, this acceptance of what Israel says to be the truth in terms of this is our land, though we haven't been here, actually, we don't even know where Israel really is. We're just going by some stuff written in a book. They haven't been over there in a millennium. It does not belong to them, but they paint themselves the victim. We are the chosen ones, chosen to do what? Massacre people? Chosen to destroy humanity for your own sake? I don't think any God would agree with something like that. Wait a minute, especially if it's not yours, But this is Israel's stance and those who support Israel. We have politicians, again, who sends billions and billions of dollars to Israel to kill innocent women and children for their land. It's no other way to put that. You can't hide that truth. This is what Israel is about. This is what they're about. We see what is occurring in Iran is because this is Israel's wish. They say, we have to get rid of this existential threat, Iran. No, what they have to get rid of is a country that will not allow Israel to run roughshod over them or others in the area. Iran is the big brother of those countries, those smaller countries who may be fledgling, failing at keeping the governments right, keeping them from being corrupt, things of that nature. But there Iran is. They are the thorn in Israel's side. They are the one who is stopping the hegemony that Israel hopes to impose on the whole region. They are the ones who will prevent Israel from executing the greater Israel plan. This is why Israel needs America, and this is why America and other European nations initially turned a blind eye, because they rather have them Ashkenazi Jews, them Europeans over there, starting mass killing people rather than in Europe or the United States doing it, laying claim to something that isn't theirs in those regions or those areas of the world. It's no surprise. Well, it is a surprise that a lot of people just cannot see the forest for the trees in this manner or in this respect.
In their evil campaign to push Israel into the sea. The unfairness springs from a deep well of bias that has always existed, unfortunately, against Eretz Yisrael.
How the hell did, I'm just trying to understand how Hebrews, Jews became Caucasian. I'm just trying to understand that. I'm just trying to understand that. And for the life of me, I can't figure that one out. I haven't read anything that convinces me that these are God's chosen people. Not in the least, no. So I just want to point this out about Chuck Schumer. He calls himself Schumer. He is the self-proclaimed guardian of the Israeli state, all right? His activities, his stance is about Israel, first and foremost. It is not about these United States. It is not about these United States. It is about Israel having hegemony, not just in the Middle East, but wherever they see fit. All right?
If only the younger generation knew more about this unfairness, I believe it would affect them powerfully. And there are two things we can do immediately that will help rectify this situation. First, we must pass and highlight the Taylor Force Act.
Okay, that's enough of that. He said this unfairness. I wonder how Arab or Palestinian women and children felt about being bombed unfairly just because they want to remain in their ancestral lands. You know, a lot of what we see today is created, made up. It's manufactured. What we hear Chuck Schumer talking about in this speech from 2018, it's, you know, the mindset still exists, but it's all manufactured. It's all manufactured to bring credibility to a stolen land, to the massacre, the genocide of a people who've been in that land for millennium. When will the world wake up and hold these usurpers, these occupiers accountable for the atrocities and the genocide we see taking place in real time? When? So I've had about enough of this guy, and I'm pretty sure most of you have as well. We understand the way that, well, some of us do understand the way that they work, and the way that they work is evil. There's nothing righteous about it. It is all terroristic, murderous, genocidal, you know, all done to claim a land that is not theirs. All right. So Chuck Schumer. Also, I want to drop it to you guys real quick, something about Chuck Schumer. He is the handler for most of the CBC politicians, that is the Congressional Black Caucus. He is their handler. Plain and simple. He tells them what to pass, what to vote on, what not to vote on, especially when it comes to Israeli lobbyists' suggestions, ideas, or, you know, things they want passed. When it comes to money being sent to Israel, he lets them know, vote for this one, not for that one, da, 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 da. He is their handler, okay? This Democrat from New York, Chuck Schumer, you know, and surprisingly enough, and throughout all that he said, he never mentioned Hamas one time. He mentioned the Palestinians. So in his mind, and pretty sure in other Zionists' mind, it doesn't matter whether they're Hamas or not. They're Palestinians. They're occupying a space that the Zionists want to take for their own selves, all right? So just keep that in mind, you guys. This is what's going on. So when we talk about the Cory Bookers and we talk about the Kamala Harrises and individuals like that, we also have to include in that conversation with these individuals their alignment with people like Chuck Schumer and the AIPAC, as well as J Street and other PACs. They've been paying Israel for decades now, just giving them taxpayer dollars to kill off another race of people just because they want their land. And all the while, we have here in the United States homelessness, hunger, poverty, minimal education, job concerns, health issues, medical issues, health care, all those things, the environment. They would rather take these tens and hundreds of billions of dollars and give them to a war state, a warmongering state, a murderous, genocidal state like Israel, rather than use that money to make America not only a better place, but the example of what the world should be about. Watch these people. It's election time. Midterms are here, right around the corner, and they're buttering you guys up with these false narratives and a lot of propaganda. All right. So tell us what your thoughts are. Drop them in the comments. Let us know how you feel about this piece right here. We will answer your comments. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.